Today on Frontline, we put the focus again on PPEs. It is arguably the most common need on a health workers checklist at this time when the coronavirus is sweeping through nations and crippling economies. So it is not a surprise that health workers in Ghana's hospitals and health centers are continuing to cry for authorities to adequately supply them personal protective equipment. In this report, Komla Adom, who has had exclusive access to the University of Ghana Medical Center, where some infected persons are being treated, throws a spotlight on the role of PPEs in the battle against the virus.
It is a race to keep healthcare workers protected from COVID-19 the world over, and as doctors, nurses and other caregivers work overtime to address the pandemic, many fear they are facing an unprecedented global crisis, a lack of resources, and a fight to save their own lives. The World Health Organization has said the world faces chronic shortage of personal protective equipment amid the outbreak. Here is Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus in February this year.
The world is facing chronic shortage of personal protective equipment, as you might imagine. WHO discourages stockpiling of PPE in countries and areas where transmission is low.
Back home, health workers continue to appeal for basic masks, gloves, face shields and the like to enable them work. But why are these PPEs so valued? I'm sure, as the name suggests, personal protective equipment, they basically protect those who have them on in the health facilities. We have come to the University of Ghana Medical Center to experience for ourselves what these PPEs mean to health workers on the forefront of Ghana's battle against COVID-19.
We're going to wear our full PPE, coverall, what to wear over your head, the head covering, the goggles, some of the goggles, typically the face shield is outside, but all the other PPEs are here. So based on the patient that you are going to see and the work that you are going to do, then you wear the appropriate PPEs.
Dr. Emmanuel Amwa is a pediatrician preparing to go and administer care to some patients afflicted by COVID-19. He will have to go through a process called donning, which is properly fitting the protective gear before going into the wards.
The reason is simple. When you go in there and then anybody needs any care, because we are in full PPE, we can offer the level of care, the needed care for every patient. If you are not fully donned, then when you go in, there may be some procedures you may not be able to do because you are not in the appropriate personal protective equipment.
At the intensive care unit, the process of donning these PPEs is more rigorous. Head of the unit, Dr. Chris O, explains. This process could take up to 20 minutes or actually even more.
Do not forget that in intensive care unit, we come very close to the patient. We do procedures that generate what we call aerosols, not just droplets, like suctioning, like intubating, basically a lot of the things we do, even ventilating a patient, all can generate that. So they have to make sure, because in their case, they are going to actually be touching patient, moving patient, adjusting oxygen delivery devices. They will definitely be in contact with surfaces that the patient has touched or had viruses have settled on.
Dr. Emma Inima Adai and Dr. Daniel Soti are preparing to go in to administer care to some 3 severely ill persons with COVID-19 inside the ICU.
You need to take your time when you're donning because you don't want any part of your body to be exposed. That is very critical. Because once your body is exposed, then your likelihood of getting infected is high.
Our supervisor is going to ensure we have as good a seal as possible. Otherwise, there should be no part of our skin that is exposed. If there's any exposed skin whatsoever, the supervisor has to tape it off.
At this unit, it is double the care and double the detail because the risk levels here are higher. In Ghana, about a dozen caregivers have already been compromised. This is something Dr. Adai, Dr. Soti and Dr. O are not gambling with. One infected critical care staff here means a drain on an already existing lean team.
They have to work with all this covering their face. Sometimes their goggles are blurred because they are breathing into it. sometimes it's quite suffocating, and sometimes there's sweat underneath it, even if it's an ICU with air conditioning and all that.
But after administering care, doffing off, which is the process of removing these personal protective equipment, can be even more laborious and hectic, but for good reason. A large percentage of these materials are single-use. If my timer was right, this doffing off process lasted at least 40 minutes. Of course, because our equipment needed to be decontaminated as well.
So we have just returned from the tour of the facility, and here. And so what's the name of this process?
Okay, so we are doffing, started the doffing off process. So this is a chlorine we are putting in, we've been working there, so we are putting in, what can I say? On our right, the gun boot, this one is the gun boot, to make sure that it is decontaminated, and then we'll go through the process.
What you see is the disinfection process. You know, they have to do the chlorine bath, one here, one there. The concentration of the chlorine is 0.5, and we see the supervisor there spraying.
Some may require only a mask, others a pair of gloves in their care work. But for those who offer direct treatment, both in the main treatment area and the intensive care units, it is a matter of preparing adequately to fight an unseen enemy. For what is a warrior without a weapon? Komla Adum, JoyNews, Accra.
And so we say a very big thank you to everybody who is on the front line. We'll take a very quick break. When we return, we'll go to the Supreme Court because today it upheld the U.S.-Ghana Military Cooperation Agreement. We'll be talking about that as well. Do stay with us.